I'm Kelly Taxter. I'm the Barnett and Annalee Newman Curator of Contemporary Art at the Jewish Museum, and I am here with Beatriz Milhazes, who's in Rio, and we worked together in 2016 on an installation at the Jewish Museum that was part of the Roberto Burle Marx Brazilian Modernist exhibition. And you had an incredible piece that was an installation in our lobby called Gamboa 2. And that piece was both related, of course, to Brazil and the Roberto Burle Marx exhibition, but it also came out of a collaboration with your sister that started in 2004. So I was wondering if you could talk about the origins of Gamboa and how it was made and sort of the site of your studio and all those things around that piece.
So, hi, Kelly.
Hi.
So it's, I think it's a very nice opportunity to talk after a long while. So, yes, I think the Gamboa, it became a kind of a spatial concept since I developed the set for my sister contemporary dance company. So it was the first, in 2004, like you said, it was the first time I did something that really invaded the set. So it was a kind of a background for the dances, and then it was the first set that really was with the dancers on the stage. And so that experience, after 4 years of thinking and rethinking, and also people like some curators and people from the art world, not from the dance world, they were really excited about this idea. So that how it communicates, the paintings. So all my source of elements that I've been using, and the piece that was on the set. And so I did the first Gamboa in 2008. So it was the first, and I thought it would be the only one. But that's why I said it became a kind of a spatial concept, because I started to understand that Gamboa had a kind of a life, had a kind of a energy, and the way it could occupy the space, and it speaks with different places, different kind of projects and exhibitions and things. And so that's also why I suggest, when we are talking about what to do in the combination with Burle Marx exhibition retrospective, what could be the best work to develop for the lobby of the museum. And then Gamboa came up to mind for different reasons. And so it's a kind of a three-dimensional relationship with my own motifs and elements that I use. It's like they were animated, starting animated.
Was that the first time you worked in 3 dimensions when you made that piece for her set? Okay, yeah.
Exactly. It was the very, very first time I work with 3-dimensional. And it's amazing how things work now in the artist's practice.
Right.
So how things, and actually my own studio practice, it happens like that. So one thing is pushing another thing, and it's adding some new elements. These new elements create a kind of a chain reaction that would make a completely aesthetic and visual change in the future. And sometimes it brings new medium. It's exactly what happened with the Gamboa. So it was not just bringing some thoughts, but also it's on new concepts, but also some new medium to explore.
Well, I think it's interesting that was your first sculpture, because the paintings have this idea of kineticism in them, with the circular forms being bisected, refracted, almost looking as though they're spinning or have some kind of movement implied in the composition. And then the first sculpture you made was actually for movement. It sways in the breeze, but also the dancers are underneath them, animating them. So there's this fluidity between the sculpture and the body in space and the object in space, and like really bringing that movement to life. So I didn't make that connection before, but that's really interesting.
That's very interesting. Yes, but like I still consider myself a very bidimensional kind of art, because my all my um, spirit and vision and think and the way I see the word life, or how I translate it into geometry and all the constructivism, how I relate with my own art culture and Brazilian background. So it's very much based on a bidimensional. What is I know? It's sometimes it's difficult to understand, but it is. And so to manage and to really get into these sculptural words, three-dimensional words, is a very big challenge for me. So it's not. I don't know. I think the thing that's more exciting me in this is about the architectural space. It's about the existing space, or even like a construction new space. What doesn't mean that I really would relate with the sculptural thing, but it could be like a gigantic mural or even a small thing, or like a this kind of a dialogue. That's really something that interests me.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the conversation around Gamboa also really came out of your visit to the museum and paying attention to the motifs on our ceiling, the sort of florets and the crazy architectural, like, I mean, it's so decorative, right? It's so beautifully decorative. And it also is a grid. So the ceiling is a grid that's, punctuated by these floral moments, which is kind of a perfect synthesis with your own practice, which is based on this grid and then built up from there with like circular forms. And yeah.
I think when I saw it, so I wanted to, of course, to use it. That motivates me to develop something. And then so even like the Gamboa at first looks like something a bit difficult to develop in there in this site, but at the same time I felt that we needed to make it happen because it's so appropriate for this dialogue. And how, because the decorative art has this kind of a very poetical relationship with the human, like it's something that you have the structure, like you said, like the grids, and how it's all the whole structure of the ceiling were about like a geometric kind of a composition with the floral aspects of these elements. But at the same time, it's also is talking about a time that the building were constructed, so, and how people has been living with that. So it's like so it goes beyond just the elements or just these things, and it's part of like it marks like a time of a kind of a beauty, like a kind of thing that would make people.
Totally. I mean, well, that building is 1909, so that's the Belle Epoque, right? That's when Art Nouveau and all of those things were kind of, the grid was starting to become soft, and that was represented in the architecture and the clothing and Erte and like all that stuff was happening at that time. So that's a really precise moment. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it's interesting also, like the all the sets I've been doing for my sister dance company. I've been working with the Carnival artisans and the craftsmen, where like the ones that they develop all the parades in Rio, what is a very specific kind of a things, and has been as a reference to my work as well. So it's like I feel like a conceptual carnavalesca, because I'm not really enjoying the carnival in itself, but I really admire it's something really strong. All the whiteness, how they contrast color, how they actually they feel the freedom to put together things that you never would imagine it. So the whole so the fact that they really produce the elements based on my drawings and my flooring, this is interesting how because Carnival is also about this kind of a freedom of using elements. So this floor, like you said, like the building has the floor from Belle Epoque, which represents a specific time, and then you have a kind of a freedom to dialogue and make your own floral that is more about a totally different context.
Right.
Like it comes from the a real culture and
Right.
popular and magnificent. So it's like it's this kind of a dialogue. Also, I think it's a kind of a interests me in general, and I think it makes everything interesting.
So the Samba schools are close to your studio?
Oh no.
Totally
They're
different
not.
location. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
they are in the different neighborhoods, like they are downtown Rio.
Yeah, but
They are always
they
big
chose the
improvement.
materials. They chose the materials with you, like you kind of figured that out together.
The way so I do the drawings and the things like how I wanted, what kind of things I wanted, and then the based on the drawings they select materials.
Mm-hmm.
It's a variety, a very big range of materials,
Mm-hmm.
and then they start putting together based on the drawings, and then I from that point I follow and I accept, approve or not approve. So I made differences because what happened is like they don't make the materials; they find it. Some
Right.
they put them together, you know. So it's like they have like a plexiglass ball, and then they put the plexiglass ball with another one, and then they make a sphere, or they make like a kind of a different kind of motif. It's like the flowering things. It's also like pieces of things that they put together and become a flower. And
Right.
so it's infinite. So they could do, so many things using their creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the point. So based on the drawing, they put in the thing, so pieces of material sometimes they glue it together and then show me, and then I approve or not approve. And it's not an easy thing to work with the
Yeah.
this kind of field. And I have my very important help of my mother, who is an art historian teacher.
Oh, wow.
Uh, and that she works with my sister in a dance company, and she helps me a lot on this too, because it's a kind of a wild kind of environment, and then it's and they have their own way to develop things too.
Oh,
So it's
I'm
kind
sure
of
you see some crazy things come out of there that you're like, what are you doing? I can only imagine. Yeah. I didn't know your mom was involved. That's so interesting. So you really have a creative family. It's a family affair, your house.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's true. Yes, my father is a lawyer, but but he also were very involved with culture in general, with specific music and films more than art and dance. But yeah, we are all very interested in culture
Well,
and creative. Yes.
let's talk about Berlin Marx for a minute, because it turned out that that exhibition and a particular piece in that show really inspired you to start making another new form. So Berlin Marx, for people who don't know, is known as a Brazilian landscape architect, but he was a kind of classic Renaissance man and a modernist in a kind of classic sense too, where he was he made paintings, sculpture, printmaking, jewelry. He was a big collector of Brazilian folk art, and he made murals, tiles, ceramic tiles. I could go on and on, but
Yeah.
he also made, it was an incredible show, and I think a real revelation for a lot of people, including me. But he also made a tapestry. I think it was 87 feet long. Yeah, it was an 87-foot long
Yeah.
tapestry that fit precisely on the back wall of that first floor space. And it was made in '67, I think, for or in the 60s. I wrote this down.
60s. I don't know exactly the date. Yeah,
69.
69. Well,
69 for the City Hall of Santo Andre, which is outside of Sao Paulo.
yes.
But tell me talk about your reaction to that piece and what happened next.
Yeah, exactly. When we are like, we'll talk about space. Of course, I've seen Max tapestry before, and I knew even like the show was a discover in different aspects for me too. And of course, the first time I saw everything together, and what also make a different kind of language for you to understand, the what he has done, and his legacy too. And so so that is what is a very important point about space, and that is really motivate me, because when I saw this tapestry, which is gigantic tapestry in this room, and like embracing the whole room and make it much warmer, and really dominates somehow in a good way, not dominates that he took away all the old information. No, he just like open up for people, like come and see what I did. And so that was kind of so quite emotional, and also like it's so important for me, this dimension on how something that's bidimensional, that is tapestry, could work on a space like that. And I immediately had interest to make a tapestry, because you could ask, but you make huge canvas. What's true, but it's different, because the tapestry has a kind of warmth. I don't know how to explain. See if it comes from the handmade things. I don't know, it's threads, wood threads or silk threads. So everything is more hand made.
I think it's the material, but it has a connection to the domestic, as well as this kind of, you'll see a tapestry in a really institutional space, like his was initially in the city hall, but then in the context of his work, it becomes this kind of enveloping, like door / backdrop / tie together for the whole practice. And then they also were in homes, so there's this really kind of strange, mutable quality to them, I think.
Exactly. And I think they were first thought about exactly to make warm to have to make warm. And then of course all this decorative, all this way how to work, they could just be in flat colors, or and then they start developing motifs and things, and the landscapes motif depends on the time, and compositions for the thing. What is also very interesting, and how humans need this kind of a thing. It's not just about to be warm, but also like how to dream, or how to imagine things, or how to pick up some different spiritual maybe information from images. So that's this combination. Really, it was a big discovery that I had from seeing this show, and then when like the possibility at my London show at the White Cube Gallery came along, because it was a huge space, and we were planning like to have paintings, to have collages, and also the 3 sculptures I did after Gamboa happened. So we were planning all these things. I really dreamed to do, maybe this is the perfect moment to have, even it's a completely different atmosphere, because it was like a white cube, like what would be literally a gigantic, beautiful space, very modern, very contemporary. So, and I didn't know how that would work, but it was a kind of a dream that was realized by this point. And so when the ponton manufacturer was selected Also where it was really gifts and a meeting that's unforgettable, that probably will take for a long time, this kind of a collaboration, because they are in this, they belongs the area, the region of in center France, Aubusson, and also like a Fétin, where the Pantone is based. They are the how say like historically, no,
They've been around since 1889, I think, right? Something like
from
that.
centuries. From
Yeah.
centuries, they've been the I forgot the name now in English, but like
1887. That was when they originated in 1887. But yeah, they've been around forever, and it's a classic
exactly.
manufacturing workshop, artisans, like real high level.
Very, very high level, and it's a kind of a trip on time if you go there and visit. It's also the style of people live. You know, it's a very small town with this kind of untouched, like mostly untouched architecture. That's is a time and frame, and then it's so and how they work too. So and also like I met people that were they like we have like Sonia Delaunay, and we have Calder that actually recent show at Pace Gallery. So it's like even Picasso, where they are doing developing tapestry during the modern time, and it's and I met actually I've been working with the same person who worked with Calder and Delaunay.
Oh,
He's about retiring, but like and that is really an honor, and
wow.
then it has been an incredible experience. Well, all that said, I would say like another thing is that puts me very connected with tapestry is the fact that it's maybe is the mostly closest medium to paint. Plus, well, painting is really my root, is what is all my things are based. And but tapestry, the way you build up the colors, I have no idea about that. So that's for me. I thought like you have the thread that you need to adjust the color, and then you just within it. And so, and then I figured out that actually you build up the color
Right.
with different kind of threads. So when you do like a like black to something more simple, so it's like the black is like 6 threads of different kind of greens and blues and dark, and then you have 1 or 2 black, and then you build the black. You don't see the other colors, but it's like
Right.
they are there,
You
and
have to
that's
create
what
that. Yep. Yeah.
that's what is it brings the vibrancy, the peace, and that was like so I don't know what a very rich discovery, because I knew, oh wow, now here I have things to explore that is kind of has a kind of a dialogue with the paint, more close to the painting.
That you totally didn't expect that. Yeah.
No, I had no idea, because it's like I of course there are other ways to do tapestries probably, but the way they work, which is a more original one, this kind of a building up things, it's and also light, and also like how to improve, and it's really an amazing kind of richness that it gives a different totally perspective for me to work with tapestry, to
Yeah.
continue to work and motivate, because my first drawing was complex, was in terms of colors, but I didn't know what to expect, so let's see how it works, and it was a brilliant result, but I understood more on how I could explore more than this how can I say, the first drawing I made, the project for the tapestry, and my first visit, and how we developed everything, how I follow all the steps, blah, blah, blah. These I started understanding more the process. So when I did my second one that is in process now, so we're in process before we locked down.
Yeah.
This one. So when I made the drawing for the project, it was different because I knew they could go beyond. I knew they could, really went more deep in terms of.
It was like a material, not just the form, but the actual material and how you work with them as part of the discovery process there, which makes sense. I mean, but it's interesting how like that came about more slowly than, or you didn't come to the project with that understanding, but it was built. And then I also liked when you described, or I liked hearing about the first presentation of the work, which was in a church sort of near to the manufactory in the town. And there was actually an exhibition of Corbusier there in 1983. I found an exhibition of Corbusier tapestries in that same church that you presented. Yeah, they first unfurled the tapestry and hung it behind the altar in the sanctuary part of the church, and the altar was designed by Corbusier, which is, I just thought that was such a beautiful connection. Yeah, like the modernist history that your sort of work comes out of, and then having this really direct dialogue, particularly with that space. And the tapestry fits so perfectly behind, but that also was coincidental, right? Like you didn't know that was going to happen, but it had to happen there.
No, exactly. Yeah. Because you have this moment of the tombé, like they call tombé de métier. What I said to you, like the first thing is like we after everything is set about the colors, about the how to dye the threads, when all this adjustment and also like the loom has a kind of you needed to tune as an instrumental, a musical instrumental, and then when it's all done, so and they start weaving, so this is you only will see when it's finished. So you cannot make adjustment in the middle of this process. So if something wrong goes, you only see like maybe 1 year later what happened in my case. Like they start in January 2017, and then the tombé de métier, this church moment, was in January 2018. So it's like it's really 1 year. So, and then it's a ritual to take out from the loom, and then it show to all the people that has been working, the artists, so everybody involved. And in this case, is also like the mayor of the city came. It was a big event. So I knew it would be something special, but it's like, but I thought it was much bigger than I thought. And in the way, like it was very big. It's a little smaller than the Buller Max. It's smaller on the length. Maybe the width is more or less the same. They could not fit in the manufacturer walls, and so that's why they suggested church, and then the mayor agreed, and and that was really a gift. It's like I love church. A Catholic church specifically, but like and then to have the tapestry hang, and it was perfect, like you see in the pictures, like it looks like it was made for that. It was absolutely the size, and we haven't expected, and then they hang there, and then you have the Le Corbusier altar with the cross that also he designed it. So all the combination, it's everything I love to all together.
Yeah, it's like there was a real synthesis of things between the Berlin Marx tapestry fitting within, I think it was like 1 inch of our back wall. I mean, it really fit just perfectly by chance, and that was a miracle in itself. And then going full circle, and then your thing just fits inside of that church, and then the lineage of Corbusier and the whole conversation with modernism and these people that just kind of did everything, and he made some tapestries in Canton, and that was a big part of his practice towards the end of his life. Yeah.
Exactly. So what's then that I didn't know too. For me also was a surprise. He spent lots of time in this area exactly because it was also like something that really he got involved at,
Mm.
by engaged, deeply engaged by the end of his life. And I understand. I understand, especially for an architect and this kind of mobile kind of a thing, because tapestry, it probably he had this kind of combination of the change of the words, like the how people would move, or how houses had a different kind of perspective, and then the tapestry would have this kind of nomade.
Nomadic. Well, it's also it's such a. I mean, I think I read somewhere he was talking about how it's such a modernist ideal to kind of combine the art and machine. Like you're taking this mechanical thing and just merging it with this handmade creative thing, and that births this. It's a modernist ideal, right?
Yeah.
Man machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful one by Muro. Yeah, in the World Trade Center, but it's gone now because it was But it has a real lineage with modernism, tapestry making.
Yes. Yeah, I think it seems like they are picking up again, artists, and also like other kinds of designs. They are starting being more interested again, but it says, of course, it's a kind of a medium that for the contemporary times is not so advanced. No, it's not so advanced. I always feel very connected with modernism. So my own Brazilian modernism that happened in the 30s, and the European one. So it's it's all, it's a combinations of all these things that actually has been on my mind, and since I can, since
totally.
my very beginning of developing my language.
Well, the other thing I just wanted to touch on before we stop is just how what you're doing now. I mean, when we've been talking so much about sight and the dialogue with architecture and kind of taking over a space with this new body of, or these new types of work that you're making. And now, of course, you're home, we're all home, and everyone's needing to adapt in some way. Have you found that you're working or finding new ways to work? And also, we should talk a little bit just before you start about how the paintings are usually made in the studio, which is you're not, you work with people. There's like a collaborative process that happens to make those pieces come together. So I imagine you guys can't do that right now. Yeah.
So I think my first idea was like to keep my routine by myself, even like my collaborators in the studio would be not there. The painting process is very much about me, and actually I have only one assistant that has been there forever, helping me with the painting things, of course, and the collages and on paper. So this is and so that's why I thought, like, why not? Even I have like 3 paintings in process in the studio, and they are very big paintings, and so I thought like I could start, but then I realized that the atmosphere around the studio, so everything, even like leaving home and go. So my studios is close to where I live, but so the things were not matching together. They were not merging properly, and I said, I needed. We are living in a completely unexpected kind of a world moment. It's not a Brazilian or real moment. So it's like a. So I needed to adjust. I needed to think, no, now it's time to do something different. So like experiment, and based on that, especially because I was totally loyal with the idea of a quarantine that we knew had been proven the way to help the things not to disseminate so fast. And so it's, and then I decided for a long time I've been interested in being focused on the drawings as a medium.
Right.
Because I'm not an artist that really work with drawings, but I work for things, no, like I said about the tapestry. So I do the drawing for the tapestry. I did the murals. Yeah, it's sometimes, and very, very few sketches on just lines, crayons, small for paintings eventually. And it's all very recent. So I never really work with drawing as a medium. And then I decided, that's maybe is the time to do that, because drawing has this kind of a connection with writing. It's like it's between writing and reading.
Yeah.
So, and it's very intimate. So I could organize a studio, because for me, it's very important to have a space for me to develop my artwork. So I can do anywhere I am. So, and my studio is very precious, and I always like it to have my studio physically separate from home.
Mm-hmm.
And so this moment is totally unusual for me, because I'm working on a drawings as a medium, what I never did before, and also work at home, because I know many artists do this frequently. I don't, because when I shut down the studio, I go back home. This part is done. So even, of course, you are always thinking, now I have pictures on iPhone of the producing process. So, but it's not actually doing. So I always, so it's so different. But despite the fact that the reasons are not really painful reasons, I think it has been a very good experience. Also, like a kind of a meeting again, like me doing all this stuff at home, and then exercise my hermit side too. So there are different aspects.
Do you have like a schedule? Do you keep to a schedule at home? Are you kind of in your studio from X hour to X hour, or is it more flow?
Yeah, that is also, I'm very scheduled person, because I like schedule. I like order. So it's like the geometry. So I like order. So for me, it's very important the time I start doing it and finish it. And then they have this. That gives me freedom, But here, at first, yes, I thought, in the afternoons is my favorite in the studio. I'm always on a creative time is afternoons. But here I realized the light that comes in is different. And I don't have in the studio, I have appropriate light, so I can work during the afternoon. And here is the same. I have a lot of natural light coming in, but it is stronger and more in the mornings, not in the afternoons, because they move from one side of the apartment to the other side. So it's like and then where I have my studio, so and then I realized, you needed to take advantage of this natural light and change your schedule. So I decided to be more flexible about how. At first I was a little confused, and then I said, "Oh, what I'm doing now? I'm going cleaning the floor or doing a drawing." So I was like,
I know, it's so weird to be at home all the time. I don't think it's ideal at all. I don't know. I mean, I know people love to work from home occasionally, but all the time, and my home is my home. I don't do work at home. I have separate spaces. I have like the office, then I have a library that I go to, but I can't work at home. I've got my dog. She's distracting. I want to I go vacuum for 5 minutes. Yeah, it's confusing.
Exactly. It's confusing. And in Brazil, so it's part of the life here. We have people working also for you, the service. So I was not taking care of eventually cooking, like as a fun moment, but not as daily food. And I decide, so we are not, we put all the services, all the people that works for us at home. So most of the people did it for safe, to diminish circulation, of course. And so even we keep all the commitments, but And then it's also like I feel in my 30s, like on my friend when I was doing everything. So it's like because and that it has been also a very important experience for me because after decades that you don't really do things, you are not really responsible because that's the problem. Like the difference that I could do, and but like I was not responsible for the
Right.
laundry, cleaning, and even cooking. And so I said and now I am. And I said, it's good. It's like to have this. You start having fear of sometimes the fear in a way. Like I'm traveling. I spend times out of Brazil, and sometimes when the woman that works here at her holidays, yeah, I thought, oh my God, the holidays. You were like planning. It's very careful for you. And then now I have this it's okay, I can do
Yeah.
everything. And I go back to, it's
Yeah.
like it's ridiculous. That's also you enter.
Yeah.
What I think it could be a very good moment for you to rethink. We all rethink about so many things that we were like enter in a kind of spectrum of life that probably need change. It's not by chance that happened. I think nothing like so serious like a
Correct.
moment like that it happens by chance.
No.
And I think it's we should learn something from this and also understand like the future is today, because people are planning out saying, oh, in 2 years everything will be fine. Well, for me, the future, even like I'm working projects, my projects that were planning by the end of the year for next year, they are still,
Question.
nothing was really changed.
Mhm.
And we are working, of course, open with some openness, of course, if things should need to change or must change when it gets closer. But it's like we are working on a production and thing. But it's for me, it's clear that's like the future is today, because there are so many things that you needed to care for today, tomorrow, next week. That
Yeah.
has to plan something for in 2 years or 1 year. I don't know.
Yeah, planning is complicated right now. I think I think we're programmed to do it, and it's so important for us as like
Yeah,
even as a species to plan and to think ahead and to be able to evolve towards something. But yeah, it's a day-to-day situation, and that has a lot of downsides, and it has some interesting upsides that I
exactly.
completely agree with you. Like we've made our lives overly complicated in so many ways and compromised other people in the pursuit of that in so many ways. And certainly we're capable of so much more on an individual level than we engage with. And that has to do both with how people make and what artists are capable of doing and how they use their own resources, and even just our own ability to think and like engage more deeply. And yeah, I've been having really weird sensory things happening because I've been spending so much time in nature and just like more, I guess, just more connected to the stuff. I don't even know how to describe it because I'm so unused to it. Like I'm so not used to being that hyper aware of everything that I'm feeling, and like the like temperature and the wind and the sound of the temperature and the wind and the way and it's very Proustian. It like brings up really specific memories from my childhood, and very bizarre. I think I have to start logging it or
Totally
something.
understand. So I have my studio is close to the botanic garden. So we've been very used, and I have a kind of a terrace. I have plants inside the studio too. So it's part of our lives there, like to have insects and all sort of some small animals, and so and then there I was totally used of it. But then here I live in an apartment, like it's close to the beach. It's a different kind of environment, and you don't have, even you have nature, of course you have the beach, you have trees and blah, blah, but it's different totally context. Even it's close, Rio has this kind of a thing.
Yeah,
This
no,
kind
totally. It's incredible that way.
even
Yeah.
you are close, you have real nature. Now we live among us real nature, but even if you are close, is different kind of nature context. And so in here, I never would have mosquitoes. It was a kind. I didn't notice so much. Oh, or maybe they were here, but I was not paying attention. And like you said,
Yeah.
I'm also very worried because it's like today is a very rainy day. Okay, we had it before, but it's like now it's a little scary, and you think, oh, maybe this rain will bring good things or bad things. You know?
You're
You
becoming superstitious.
every single change and every you observe things more. So
Yeah.
I've been plenty of mosquitoes here, and I said, "Oh, I never noticed. Maybe they were here before, but I don't know. It became my insects and things that I, or maybe the nature is more free.
It
Is it
could
more?
be. I mean, that's possible. Hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. I have birds too.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Well, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're enjoying every day as much as you can.
yeah,
It's really nice to talk to you and see you and
uh-huh.
reconnect. And yeah, thank you for doing this. I think it's really nice to hear more about the project you did for us and just generally, what's been happening in the evolution of your work. It's been great to hear.
Yeah. No, thank you very much because I think it was really a very important and unforgettable kind of a project. And meeting you again
Yeah,
now in the middle of like when I receive your message, I say, "Oh, great, yeah, Kelly, like,
I
that's me
out in pandemic. That's a,
to keep our quality of life like every day, even like and being positive, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. We can
Collaboration,
do it. Yeah.
yeah, cooperation, collaboration. I think would be very important for all of us, especially in the art side.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Beatriz. I'll say goodbye now and have a great day. Enjoy the rain.
Thank you.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye.